Thank you for kind introduction. I am much honored to be a plenary speaker today. I had three Bangladesh students, PhD students. The first one is Anwar Hossain, and he is also a plenary speaker. And the second is Hassan Farooq. He also is a co-author of the third part students. This is very good relationship. I am very happy if I have a first chance to visit here. I am a mathematical ecologist and I consider the species replacement of permanent oscillation of the small pelagic fishes in Japanese waters. I have one model of this simple three species model, and I hypothesize my hypothesis is mackerel is stronger than anchovy. Anchovy is stronger than sardine, and sardine is stronger than mackerel. If so, this mathematical permanent oscillation is possible mathematically. Therefore, I predict in 1991 the next dominant species is sardine. The sardine is anchovy. And yes, as I predicted, anchovy became the next dominant. I say this is a testable hypothesis. If the next dominant is different from my prediction is wrong. This is testable in the future, at least 20 years later. I said in 1991, maybe after I retire, this is testable. And next year, I will retire. But I still keep this hypothesis. Thank you. Overview of my today's my talk is five topics. The first one is SDGs. COVID-19 world pandemic. But the number of cases is fluctuate in each countries, but the and the case number is increased after the variant Omicron appeared. But the mortality rate is significantly decreased. Today's my talk is the main theme is economy. Therefore, I also said the impact on the GDP growth rate by COVID-19. This green curve in both panels is Bangladesh. And in the right panel, this is for in developed countries. In this case, two major recession appeared in 2009 and 2020, and almost the same magnitude. In the 2009 is a subprime mortgage crisis. But in the developing countries, no crisis in 2009 except to the Russia and the Ukraine. But the magnitude of impact in 2020 is smaller than the developed countries. Anyway, this pandemic is, I think this is beyond the SDGs. New normal is, yes, this is hygiene practices like this. Today morning, I asked, I'd like to check the body temperature, but no equipment or body temperature sensor in my hotels. I was surprised. Now I'm checking my body temperature every morning after the COVID-19 pandemic. And another new normal is remote conference and lectures. And we have very fewer chance to the international flight. Yes, I think this new remote conference is progressed even with the pandemic. This is a new innovation, and I think my colleague predicted the frequency of international flight will decrease in the future until the end of human history. For this is environment friendly for climate change issues. Uh, and the next topic is SDGs, and a keyword is SMART principle. SDGs adopted the United Nations Summit in 2015. This is after the Millennium Development Goals. SDGs is more integrated goals than MDGs. Not only environmental issues, but also any kind of sustainable development. I support this SDGs, but I must say SDGs is a bit over ambitious, and SDGs is not prepared for the pandemic. Therefore, I say I recommend the more realistic goals for the SDGs from the 2030. And I recommend SMART goals. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But SMART goals usually discourage the over-ambitious. Definitely, I say a bit ambitious is definitely necessary, but over-ambitious I discourage. And this SMART goal is adopted in the Aichi biodiversity target in 2010. And the next topic is green and blue economy. Because the SDGs is more comprehensive approach, therefore this includes not only environment, but also social and cooperative governance. This is called the principle of responsible investment, and this initial is ESG investment. Therefore, many companies promote the SDGs because they like to get the investment by the SDG rule. And the responsible investment principle is recommends which company is follows this ESG criteria and which companies does not meet. Blue economy. This word is a marine version of green economy. And blue economy usually consists of seafood and marine production and offshore engineering and renewable energy. And another keyword is blue carbon. Blue carbon is again the marine version of green carbon. This is an enhancement of carbon captured by the ocean and coastal ecosystems. Yokohama City, my university places this city. Yokohama City is promotes the blue economy. Not only the blue carbon, but also some leisure or some activities of such sports and so on. But the keyword is yes, blue carbon. In the Yokohama City organize triathlon games almost every year. But these international athletes pay some money for the carbon offset because this event emits more carbon dioxide. Therefore, this Yokohama City gather this money and this is used for the carbon dioxide absorption. But such kind of the concept of carbon offset is sometimes criticized. This is very similar idea of Roman Catholic indulgences. In this case, a person with guilty pay some money to the church. But this guilty is not cancelled just to pay the money to church. And this is not regulation rather of the changing their behavior. Blue carbon maybe the similar carbon offset is similar way, but according to the Wikipedia English version, this is not true. Carbon dioxide emission can be cancelled, actually reduced, if this carbon offset money is used for the mitigation policies. Therefore, Yokohama City evaluate the quantity of the carbon dioxide absorption by this carbon credit movement. And in the case of seaweed aquaculture, seaweed aquaculture is used for the carbon credit in Yokohama City. But as you may understand, the major part of seaweed is consumed again and emit to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. But more than 7% of the seaweed production is this is not consumed, and this is become the deep sea waters or seabed. Therefore, this is used for carbon credit. And such kind of scientific study group is certificates the quantity of carbon effect of carbon offset. And some Yokohama City promote the carbon credit creator is seaweed farmer, and carbon credit purchaser is other kind of like the triathlon games. Such kind of credit exists. This the quantity of carbon dioxide absorption is not very large, but this scheme is probably very important. And I say the climate change issues have two measures: mitigation policy and adaptation measures. And mitigation reduces the actual carbon dioxide concentration. But adaptation measures reduces the impact, the magnitude of impact of the bad things resulting from the global warming. And mitigation works globally, but adaptation works locally. This is a similar way of the tragedy of the commons. In this case, each company, each nation like to pay their effort on the adaptation, and they expect other nations to pay many more effort on the mitigation. Every country is considered the same. Therefore, the tragedy may happen. How to avoid this tragedy? Usually, a common property should be divided into the private property. The most famous example is high sea is divided into the economic exclusive zone. But greenhouse gas is essentially the global. This is not divided to the private property. Carbon dioxide concentration is must be universal, not divided by each nation. The second way is forcing global policy, like the Kyoto Protocol in UNFCCC, climate change issues. In this case, some was agreed in between the developed countries. And USA, the biggest emission nation, escaped from this Kyoto Protocol. The next idea is co-management, or a combination of top-down and bottom-up approach. And the Paris Agreement is the good example of this co-management. In this case, each nation's member state declares their own effort and goals. After that, the International Convention forced each member state to keep their own goal. This is called nationally determined contribution. And another idea is incentive by the credit. This is called cap and trade. And in the NDC, Bangladesh declared of the blue carbon issues in both in the mitigation and adaptation. I'm sorry that Japan do not include their own NDC in blue carbon. Eco-labeling is another measure. And eco-label is a trustworthy symbol that they were better for the environment than the comparable products. More environment-friendly seafood is called labeled MSC. This MSC seafood is rapidly increasing, and some percentage of the global products of captured marine fisheries. And other certification is ASC, aquaculture certification. This is also rapidly growing, but now still very small part of the total production of the world. But the one problem is interest divergence exists. This drives the controversy over the global standard design. And therefore, many other eco-labeling exists in the world. And any is a global standard, third-party certification exists. And other local certification is self-declared. One example is this controversy is shrimp production. Shrimp production is divided into these four categories, from intensive aquaculture to catching of the wild. In the intensive aquaculture, artificial seedling and artificial pond and fed, and also use chemicals. And this is must level the aquaculture, not wild. And ASC is made some global standard for this intensive aquaculture. But I usually say extensive farming exists in the developing countries. And this is definitely environmentally more friendly than the intensive aquaculture. But sometimes this is not sustainable. And catch of wild, yes, this is, many people worry about the overfishing. Enclosure exists. This is using wild seedling and non-fed, but this is no category of eco-labeling. Therefore, this enclosure shrimp production is endangered because no company is certificated, and this is not the target of ESG investment. Therefore, now I have one project of the seafood company, how to certificate this enclosure shrimp production. And another topic of blue economy is offshore wind farm. In Japan, some obstacles exist in the offshore wind farms because there are no landowners on the ocean. I think this is a very similar situation exists in many other countries. And fisheries and other kind of use of already existing marine. Therefore, some conflict may happen between the offshore wind farm company and fishermen. And occupancy of the sea surface requires coordination between the stakeholders, not the landowner. This is called marine spatial planning or integrated ocean management. But now another problem in Japan is the fisheries impacts are not significant, but maybe this is a positive effect because this wind power station may become a nursery ground of the fisheries resources. But Japanese environmental impact assessment procedure does not include socioeconomic impacts. Therefore, this is not effective for the negotiation between the environmental impacts and renewable energy benefit and fisheries impact. Therefore, sustainable assessment is more useful than the environmental impact assessment. And another topic is COVID-19 and zoonosis and wildlife management. Zoonotic disease is the relationship between the human people and animals. But I note these animals should be categorized into the four categories of pets, livestock, and pre-domestic and pastoralists like rats and wild animals. We discriminate how to treat these animals between the categories. How do germs spread between the animal and people? This is direct contact, indirect contact, vector-borne, and food-borne and water-borne. But I note again, we should consider the relationship between the benefits and risks, not only risks, because these animals we receive some profit from these animals. And also, prevention of foodborne and waterborne and vector-borne, some pesticides or antibiotics are used. But these also have health risks. And another topic is cat wars. In Europe and USA, there is a serious conflict between the bird watchers and cat lovers because wild and free-ranging cat, this is a pet, prey on the wild birds. And domestic cat is an alien predator in the world's worst invasive alien species. Predation of cats has become a major cause of the extinction of many endangered wildlife. And also, cat are vector of toxoplasma, a zoonotic disease. And this is very dangerous in the woman, pregnant women. And in the prevalence rate of this toxoplasma, this rate is different from nations. 60% in Germany or other Western nations, and 4% in South Korea and Japan. In Bangladesh, in between 250, 25, I think, percent. That means nature protection concept differs from animal welfare. The lack of agreement on how to treat free-ranging cats is a big problem in Western countries. And the theory of nature conservation is still under development, even in developed countries. Prevention and conservation is one idea to avoid the zoonotic disease and how protection, effective protection measures is not the use of wildlife. And this caricature shows this is in the wildlife in the bottle. This very similar idea is adopted in the UNESCO's Man and the Beast program. The nature conservation does not mean the wildlife in the bottle or in the just wild protected areas. And the wildlife exists in this open area, and this open area is called biosphere. And this biosphere usually includes the people. This is the main topic of the Man and the Biosphere program in UNESCO. Bears in Japan has once been endangered, but now the population size is recovered. And this bear attacks the people in this Sapporo city town area. This is very dangerous. And now Sapporo city, the population size is 2 million people. This metropolis is now the heaven of the brown bears. Brown bear appears many times, even in this urban town area. And this marathon course in the Tokyo Olympic in 2022, this is very close to the brown bears. And in the early morning in the marathon, is very dangerous time in the brown bear appears. Deer bear may kill people, and appearance bears in city area limit children going to school or stopping marathon events. But if when this bear was culled by Sapporo City, this is strongly protested by the citizens outside this area. Sapporo City just wrote before, please see this website, and to avoid the endeavorment encountering the brown bears. But this is impossible. Even this house is garden, brown bear may happen, may enter. And yes, human-tiger conflict also exists in the Bangladesh and other developing countries in the endangered elephant. And the Yellowstone National Park in USA, how to coexist bears. The basic concept is bears is categorized with two categories of good bears and bad bears. Good bears avoid people. Bad bears do not avoid people. If so, bad bears must be killed. And this is called garbage kills bears. I say, people and bears are not friends, but can coexist by people uses or kills bears, and bears avoid people. But this is opposite way. This cameraman likes to take a picture of wild bears. In this case, if this bear attacks these people, this bears easily kill these people. But these people do not afraid. And these people like to take a picture of wild bear. This means a wild bear runs. Oh, people is not afraid. And finally, this bear is appeared in the town area and was killed. I say this is a camera kills this bear or camera steals bear's soul. And no use of wildlife is really unrealistic. Populations of some wild animals are increasing recently. This is a success story of wildlife conservation. The problem of human-wildlife conflict is increasing serious in both developing and developed countries. Eating the bushmeat is an essential source of protein for some developing countries. Some wild animals also emit the methane gases, greenhouse gas. We need to keep ecological distancing between the people and wildlife, and we discriminate the distancing magnitude between the wildlife, pets, and livestock. But this does not mean no use of wildlife. Also, IUCN recommends trophy hunting. This is effective of community-based conservation. And CBD also recommends, yes, bushmeat is indispensable in Congo Basin. And the final message is, come back again, the Man and the Biosphere program. And I also recommend the World Natural Heritage Site should be the biosphere reserve of the Man and the Biosphere program. This is balance between the wildlife conservation and sustainable use. And I wrote this book, Ecological Risk Management. I said, people are inseparable from the biosphere, and thus not only use the wildlife, but sometimes people are used by wildlife. Therefore, ecological distancing is very important. Thank you. Conclusion, we need to regard humans as a part of biosphere and to rebuild the relationship between the wildlife and humans. Ecosystems are diverse across the region, therefore cultures are also diverse. If it is important to respect the decisions by local people, not the top-down regulation from the global standard. These local people are committed to both the conservation of biodiversity. Okay, thank you. Good.